All right, so we are reviewing for your 9.1 through 9.6 test tomorrow. Number 1, we're working on approximating to the nearest integer. Numbers 2 and 3, we're solving the equations. When you found the square root of 425, round to the nearest integer, what'd you get? What'd you get? 21, right? Just 21. Not positive, negative, because the radical is positive and there's no negative in front. Number 2, I just take the square root of both sides, and this answer, yes, is positive and negative. Why? Because negative 16 times negative 16 is still positive 262. Right, now in number 3, what do I do first? Subtract 3 from both sides. And then what? Divide by 2 and square root it. 7, positive, negative 7.1.
What if you said positive, negative 7?
On the test, it'll say round to the nearest tenth, so you would only get half credit. But on number 3 here, I didn't really tell you, so that's fine. Okay, just make sure on the test you round to the nearest tenth. Number 4 and 5, simplify the expressions. Simplify these expressions. Remember, we're pulling out perfect square factors. So to find that for the number part, what's the square root of 1372? Okay, very good. Now, are there any variables that I could pull out? The v, because v is squared, so I can pull out one of my v's, and I get 14v times the square root of 7uw. I leave the other 2 underneath. What about number 5? What can I pull out of the numerator? Just a and b, because ironically enough, in a number that big, 138, there are no perfect square factors. None. What about 81? 9. So my answer is AB, square root of 138 over 9. Number 6 and 7. On number 6, I'm finding the unknown side length. Well, what has sides labeled B and C? What kind of triangles? Right triangles, so we can use what kind of theorem? Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so fill in what you know, solve for what you don't know. On number 7, the instructions will say, tell whether or not these side lengths form a right triangle. You do that by substituting into Pythagorean theorem and seeing if both sides equal. So go ahead and review these 2 questions. All right, so we're solving for A on number 6. So we evaluate our exponents, subtract, square root it, and ironically enough, our answer is an even what? 51. All right, number 7, I substitute, and I just have to see, do both sides equal? Okay, and the answer is yes. This is not your answer. So on the last test, some of you got points off because you had a similar question like this where this was your work, and that's all you showed. You didn't actually physically answer the question yes. And you say, well, that's obvious. You'd be surprised how many people have the correct work shown, and then they will say no. Okay? So just because you have the correct work there, that's not the answer to the question. Do these side lengths form a right triangle? The answer is yes. Okay, find the distance and the midpoint of this set of ordered pairs. All right, find the distance and the midpoint. Yes, you have to have the formulas memorized. This distance formula, hopefully you have it memorized. X2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Substitute your values. Now, I do not recommend that you substitute into your calculator on this step. I recommend that you use your mental math skills to further simplify under the radical first, okay? And then I would put that into your calculator. Make sure when you're squaring a negative that you put the negative in parentheses in the square outside. All right, that way your calculator will do the calculation correctly. And what do you get for your distance? 2 square root of 58. 2 square root of 58. And remember, leave these answers under the radical. It'll just say in simplest form. It won't say anything about rounding. Okay? What about midpoint? What's my formula? X1 plus X2 divided by 2. Y1 plus Y2 divided by 2. Basically, you add your X values and divide by 2, and add your Y values and divide by 2. Pay attention to your negatives. 10 plus negative 4, 6 plus 12. So that would be 6 over 2 is 3, and 18 over 2 is 9. 3, 9. Anybody get both? Distance and midpoint? Good. Anybody maybe miss one? Any questions? Any questions here? All right, number 10 and 11. Okay, solve for the unknown side lengths. What kind of triangles are these? Okay, so use your rules for how those side lengths and values relate to each other. All right, so what do we know about the leg values of 45, 45, 90? They're the same. So x is going to be 9. What do we know about the hypotenuse? No, leg length times the square root of 2. 9 square root of 2. So if we know the hypotenuse, what's going to be our x value on number 11? 12. Very good. And then y would be 12 as well. All right, so now on a 30, 60, 90 triangle, I'm going to use my rules for how those side lengths relate to find the unknown side length. Okay, so which side length do I know on number 12? Which one do I know? I know the hypotenuse, so which one would I go to next, short leg or long leg? Short leg, because I know how does short leg relate? It's half, so what's it going to be? 8. And then how does long leg relate to short leg? Times the square root of 3. All right, now, which leg do I know on number 13? Long leg. So where do I go now? Short leg or hypotenuse? Short leg, and then what would that value be? It's whatever number's in front of the radical, so 7. And then what would y be?
14.
And that, guys, is everything you need to know for your test tomorrow.